Our speaker for the evening, Mr. Pankaj, has already joined, and so is our coordinator, Sweetie and Josna, are already there in the system. So another 2-3 minutes, and we'll begin with the webinar. It's a very, very important webinar. Today, we are discussing something that's relevant to everyone, irrespective whether you are in business or you are in job or you are an employee or you're a customer. I mean, it's related to everyone. So this is series of ongoing training programs that's being conducted under the association, which is the D2CIA association, which is Direct to Consumer Industry Association. Relatively new association, but with the vision of, creating a platform which is helping the government, the industry, the society, and the entrepreneurs at large. So what does D2CI does is, before we start off the session with Pankaj on the DPDP, just to give you a brief about that. D2C Industry Association works on 4 vertical platform, which is called as RISE, RISE. RISE is on the regulations. R is stands for the regulatory space, where we work on with the government on various regulations related to the all D2C space, whether it's fintech, AI, digital marketing, e-commerce space. I stand for implementation in the industry. How do we implement those regulations and the policies in the industry? The S stands for society at large. How do we convert this law, this information for the betterment of society? How do we tell them what is to be done and what is to be, we need to protect ourselves? And the last component, obviously, is with the on the education side, which is relevant to the young students, young entrepreneurs who are looking to get more opportunity from this vertical medium. So now I think I will just begin this session. Allow me to start off this before I invite Pankaj. Okay, this is me. Okay, some do's and don'ts. Probably we all know about it. So camera and mic, we are putting it as an off just to avoid the any disturbances, and the focus remains on the presentation. Now, you can share the Zoom link in your contacts and groups in case somebody, if you want, that somebody has not joined in case somebody's have a challenge in joining, you can always send them the link once again. We have a backend team which is making sure that everybody is getting into the system. In case someone has a technical issue or something, you can again resend them the link. There'll be a chat and during the discussion in the chat box we'll putting in the community group. What we have realized is that over a period of time, the people may not be able to ask questions during the webinar, but they like to be in that community where everything is happening around it, where they want to know about more new things. And specifically on the regulation side or on the implementation side, they can join the community group on the not only to the DPDP Act, but also the areas or the peripheral things which are peripheral around DPDP Act. ABL, the link for the Zoom is shared on your email. You can access the link from there. Okay. This is about 40-45 minutes session, a quality session that's going to happen, and you can ask your questions after that, or you can put the questions in the chat, and we have a Q&A coordinator who will help us with the question and answers. Now, you can have a small look at this video, which has been made specifically to describe how does D2CI works. Let me see if there is no technical hitch and we can play around this thing.
$300 billion। जी हाँ, आपने बिल्कुल सही सुना। 2031 तक D2C इंडस्ट्री का एक्सपेक्टेड टर्नओवर इतना बड़ा होने वाला है, लेकिन इतनी रैपिड ग्रोथ के साथ चैलेंजेस भी आते हैं, जैसे रेगुलेशंस,
Okay. Now, I would be inviting Pankaj to come up and request him to please open up your video, Pankaj. Let me give you a brief introduction of Pankaj. Pankaj is an executive director for Sudo Services Private Limited, and I've known Pankaj for almost about 15 years. And during our association of last 15 years, Pankaj has been helping us and our association in terms of what technical inputs which are required. Now, today he's become a real expert in the compliance and the regulatory framework side, and he really helps organization with the implementation, whether it's in the AI side, cybersecurity, or digital transformation. The best thing about what I've liked about our today's speaker, Pankaj ji, is, not only the knowledge part, but the implementation part. So how to identify the gaps and how to implement them and how to address them. Within a lot of experience and the cross-border, cross-industry experience, Pankaj ji has been able to help organizations in implementation of this act. Now, I would like to invite Pankaj ji to share his experiences, his presentation, and forward to you, Pankaj ji, now.
Thank you very much, Rahul. So I am also part of D2CIA. I like definitely the initiative you are doing is wonderful, and we look forward to contributing to this initiative. So I just wanted to check, is my screen visible?
Yes,
sir.
very much.
Visible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining this webinar by D2C. This is why it is important for business owners, because I see a lot of business owners are there or business heads are there in the webinar. So AI has artificial intelligence has brought businesses to a stage which can be a Kodak or a BlackBerry kind of moment. One, you adopt AI or you don't adopt AI. If you adopt AI, you will survive. If you don't adopt AI, it will be difficult to survive, as your competitors will be adopting to AI. Now, and our Honorable Prime Minister has emphasized on AI, and we have a wonderful India AI Summit in February 2026. Now, this DPDP Act is basically a foundation. So it's a twofold thing. One, it is a part of compliance. It really helps to achieve data compliance, as well as once you are compliant, it helps to add to your brand value. And second thing is that it also helps you to protect your AI infrastructure and any problem which comes to your AI infrastructure within your business. So how they relate, very exciting time for Indian businesses to adopt AI and grow more. You will be having opportunity which you have not seen in life. That kind of growth opportunities will be there. So we basically as a organization focus on 360-degree organizational imperative. We are not only giving solution, we stand by with you when there is a query from the board. So if a query is there about your compliances, so we will help you to reply to that. We will help you to defend your position. So it's not only sharing a gap or sharing a solution. So we will be with you the whole journey, and we will be partnering for this delivery. Now, coming to the background of DPDP Act. So DPDP Act was passed by Parliament in August 2023. Rules came in 2025. So there was a landmark Puttaswamy judgment in 2017 where they put up privacy a fundamental right. So there was a bench of 9 judges of Supreme Court, and they put up privacy as a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution. And this updation has linked to various other laws which came up. We will be focusing on DPDP Act. This act, as I mentioned you, that it was made passed by Parliament in August 2023, and rules and compliance dates were provided in November 12, 2025. So we have one date where organization need to have consent management by 13th November, and second date is 12th May, which is full compliance for 2027. Now, there is a twofold thing, two-sided thing you can say. One is definitely a business risk. You don't adopt, and then if you are non-compliant to DPDP Act, there are penalties, and these penalties are per breach. So 250 crore if you are failure in reasonable security safeguard of personal data, failure to notify breach to data protection board or data principal, 200 crore penalty, breach of obligation related to children is 200 crore penalty. Any children data which you are capturing below 18 years, the parent consent has to be there. India is the first country in the world to implement this, and 150 crore for significant data fiduciary obligation breach. And any other provision of the act, if there is a breach, then there is a 50 crore penalty. So these are penalties, and these are per breach penalties. Now, generally, you feel that you can have an approach, or organization says DPDP Act technology, let it be an IT domain or chief information security officer who looks after cyber security. Let them be involved. But DPDP is such that where every department comes into picture. So your organization, when want to plan to do DPDP compliance, should have an interdepartment team. So human resources involved because they have employee PI data, HRIS vendor contracts, they have background check consent, sensitive employee data retention, then marketing and sales have campaign data retention policies, cookie and tracking consent, customer profiling compliance, PAN Aadhaar handling, finance and accounts have, financial data audit trail, legal and compliance have, appointments of DPO, and it should be reflected on your website that this is my DPO, and any query you can reach us. Because once your complaint is done to DPDP board, the first question is that whether the data principal or consumer was able to reach you or not. And then IT operations, which include technical security safeguards, data breach response, SOPs, system and vendor inventory, and customer services. So all the departments come into picture when DPDP Act compliance is there. And once you have a team, once you have to do a compliance, you should create a interdepartmental team. Now, what are the key obligations for an organization to be DPDP Act compliance? First is consent. You should take a consent, which should be purpose limited consent, minimum data to be captured, data principal rights, like data principal is whose data you are managing. It can be a adult or a child data. Then breach notification. Any breach happens in your organization, you have to inform data principal, and you have to inform data protection board, and then there will be significant data fiduciary. Anybody who is handling data more than 1 lakh records, they will run into becoming a significant data fiduciary. Annually they need to do audits. So this is the obligations on the DPDP Act. Now, which I mentioned you, the AI and DPDP Act relationship, and how DPDP Act compliance is a trust layer. So if you see organization data infrastructure, where the organization data is in databases. It is lying on cloud. It is lying on endpoint. Endpoints are basically laptops, desktops. If you are using any SaaS applications or your legacy applications, where you keep personal data, it can be individual data which you are keeping. So this is your data infrastructure where your data is lying. Then is a DPDP Act compliance foundation. So once you have to do DPDP Act compliance, you need to do consent, take a consent, do purpose limitation, minimization, and then you have to do data governance, which is classification of data, linear tracking. And once you these three activities, where you do identify your data infrastructure, do compliance, do governance, on top of it, you have to build your AI applications and analytics. So LLM, which is large language models, predictive models, process automation, chatbots, which you use for customer service or marketing or payment collections. So they are part of this, and they all become underlying. You have to do these things to make them effective. As you know, AI systems are data hungry, and without a compliance, AI can become a regulatory and reputational liability. So, as I mentioned, that only one solution or one thing will not help an organization. Organization should look for a comprehensive or holistic solution which should identify the gap, which should help to fulfill the gap and then manage. So our what we suggest is in a 360-degree offering, one a gap assessment has to be done. Gap assessment is what is your current state. So there is a state of full compliance of DPDP Act. And what is your current state? What is your gap? Have you appointed officials like DPO, grievance officer? Have their information is available on internet? Have your processes in place where you can take a complaint and reply to the complaint in 72 hours? Law says that you have to reply it in 72 hours. So first is the gap assessment, which is a current state. In current state, they tell you that these are the gaps. Remedial action is the second step where you fulfill those gaps. Once you fulfill those gaps, then there is a day one when you become fully compliant. But after that also there will be new laws come. If any query comes from DPDP board, how you will reply? Similarly, if a data principal raise a query, how you are replying? So this all things is a part of assured compliance. So anybody who is working with you for gap assessment, implementing the solution should also be there for assured compliance. So ideally your contracting should be for 3 years. 1 year is for basically doing a compliance where you achieve compliance, and next 2 years organization should be with you where they train, they help you to do assured compliance, and every new compliances come. So they help you to reply to that and help you to remain compliant in that area. Thank you. So ideal is that these kind of three kinds of relationship, 3 year kind of contracts and relationships you should look for. We basically have a service, and we also have a platform which can be done on site, on premise. If you say that we don't want to work on cloud, it can be an on premise deployment, or it can be a SaaS based which can be deployed on cloud, and then you can manage it. The challenge which comes generally in organization is that if an inquiry comes, and though you must have run the process, you must have run the audit, you have done full compliance, then your team or legal team, they start searching things where the record is, where the information is. Now in our two platform, the facility is that everything, whether your gap or remedial action or continuous compliance, is captured at one place. If any query comes, you can pull out the information from our platform and send it to the board or send it to the principal who is raising a query. So you don't have to run around, and every record which is there with date and time stamping, so that you can prove that this activity was done actually at which date and which time. Now coming to important part, which is consent, where you need to take user consent. As I told you that first deadline is 13th November 2026 to implement a consent management. Consent management has to be in 22 languages. So you need to give your website or your applications an option where user can choose any of the 22 Indian languages and study the consent and give the consent its own language. So this is one area which has to be there. Once you are designing your consent has to be free, no bundling of services. Consent has to be specific. Consent need to be informed. It should be a clear notice in plain language. Unconditional consent should be unambiguous, and it should be withdrawable. Now, customer can withdraw the consent, but if your statutory requirements are there, like bank or income tax or other, and there are other statutory laws, if it's a hospital is there, and they have to keep the records. So what they have to do is that from their active systems, they have to move those records into archive and inform the data principal that the statutory laws or the laws will supersede data privacy laws, and we will be keeping in archive. If any government department is asking under those statutory laws, we have to provide that. Then there is a consent life cycle. There will be two kinds of customers. One, those who are your already customers, and one, new customers you are onboarding to your platform or business. So existing customers also, you need to send consent notice and take consent. And you have to have a provision. If you don't have a consent, then you don't allow them to use your system. Because if without consent a system is used and there is a problem, then your business will run into a problem. So ensure that consent is taken from existing customers, and you build consent into your business systems, that they consent is taken before once a new customer is onboarded. It should be a plain language. You can take it through web, mobile, IVR, kiosk. You can use any of the methods. Then you have to capture the consent. Consent need to be stored. Data processing has to be done, and withdrawn and expire. Now, one more thing which is asked is consent, because there can be an organization which can have multiple applications. So every applications, you don't have to have individual consent. You can have centralized consent. While taking a consent, you can mention all the applications for which you are taking consent, and your application will check about the consent from specific, from single source only. So that will help you to organize and have lesser workload onto your applications. Now, as I mentioned, the countdown has already begun. 13 November 2026 is consent management compliance deadline, and 12th May 2027 is full DPDP compliance deadline. And what is the risk of inaction? If you don't do anything, there is inaction, then there can be penalties of up to 250 crore. There can be public data protection board orders against your organization, which can be a monetary loss as well as trust loss, because customers will, if they know that there is a data breach and my data can go from this organization, then they can be hesitant in doing business with you. Your insurance claims can be rejected. Data principals can sue you, and the biggest challenge which I mentioned you is AI you have to use in productivity. But if you are not DPDP Act compliance and there are complaints, then DPDP board can even ask you to halt your AI projects. So which will mean that latest AI advantages in your business you cannot take. One more requirement is there, where has to be a need for data discovery through tools. So where you have to see automated PII scanning, which is automatically system will scan where the data is lying in cloud, where the data is lying in desktop or laptops, and tell you that this is the places where PII data is there. As you know that you cannot protect what you cannot see, and you cannot erase what you cannot find. So because data is valuable, and you will also see a lot of data monetization opportunity coming up. So if you don't know where the data is, then how you will know how to monetize it? So this is important to find out where the data is within the organization, so that you can secure that data and manage that data. And then you have to have data flows. And if anybody tries to steal or has already stolen data from you, so those data breaches need to be identified and notified to data principal as well as data protection board. Now, data classification by data protection board. So what they do is that assign the right protection controls, retention rules, and breach responses. You have to classify the data which is there in your organization based on sensitivity. So I will start from below. Any anonymous data which is full aggregated, no specific is there, is exempted. Pseudonymous data. So if you tokenize IDs, that is a pseudonym data, and if any breach happens, then there is a penalty of 150 crore. If you have a personal data, name, email, phone number, Aadhaar, PAN, address, IP address, location data, that has penalty of 200 crore. And if it's a sensitive personal data, which is on the top, which is biometric information, health, medical information, financial data, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, these are all highest level, and there is a which is a critical data, and there is a penalty of 250 crores on that. Now the question is how insurance company sees this, and it's again a two-way process where one you can see that how you can manage your risk, Sorry. And it also gives you an insight that how an insurance company sees this and how you can plan. So, what insurance company require, they cover DPDP Act under cyber insurance plans. So, you need to have documented consent framework. DPDP gap assessment evidence has to be there. Breach response and notification plan. You should have appointed a data protection officer. Your staff training has to be done. So, whenever you start a gap assessment, first thing is your staff has to be trained. Your business leaders or department heads have to be trained. Sensitivity of handling data has to be in place, and then your vendor agreements, they need to be evaluated. What they give you for, what they reimburse you, they helps you to do forensic investigation, breach analysis. Once there is a breach, then your organization reputation goes down. They give you money for PR and crisis communication campaigns. Your credit rating also goes down. They help you to go back and take credit rating again. Similarly, legal and regulatory defense, data protection, and even they cover your fines. If you have done all the activities, they will even cover your fines. Now, the main important thing is that what is the learning out of what insurance takes and how they react is that DPDP board, like DPD compliance to DPDP Act is not only IT part or technology part, it's a business. It will impact your sales marketing, your revenue. It will impact your credit rating. It can increase your cost of capital from financial market. And in addition to breaches which can happen, which can lead to fines, and plus it can stop your AI projects. So it has a comprehensive impact on the organization, not only on one department. And it is not like previous if data is hacked and then you move from one cloud to another. It has to be a process has to be followed. You need to inform the principal whose data has been breached. You need to inform the DPDP board also. So it has to be a comprehensive approach you need to take. Now, why us or why you have to take service like us is because only it's not a one activity that I give you a solution. So I give you a survey, I give you a platform, we give you a service, which is a technology service and legal service, and we with you for doing the compliance or assured compliance. So whichever solution you evaluate, you should look for these all features in that uh, in the solution. Then we have a government proven model. We have already done with Central for Railway Information System. We are doing in Airport Authority of India and signing up more logos within this month. Then we are partnership with OEM like Microsoft is our partner. They integrate their solutions with us. Trilix is a cybersecurity company which was earlier known as McAfee. They integrate with us. We give you a short compliance. Definitely have a deep domain expertise. We closely work with NGOs like Cyberlaw Insight, which has trained some 20,000 plus people from various backgrounds, lawyers, judges, students, employees in public sector undertaking, government employees, and trained some 25,000 more people. So, thank you. This is my presentation. So, I have completed it fast so that we can make it more interactive and take up more questions.
Right. Thank you, Pankaj. It was a really, brief and to the point presentation. And now I open floor for everyone to ask any questions and so that we can discuss industry specific questions. I think we already have one point coming in. Okay. So, Pankaj, according to you, what is the biggest mistakes companies are currently making regarding DPDP compliance? That is, I think, is the first part of the question. So there are two parts actually. And second part is many SMEs, I would believe, and startup feel that protection laws only for large tech companies. This is my call also. So we also get lot many clients in direct selling who's saying that it is only for the bigger companies and not for the smaller companies. So what are the biggest mistake companies are currently making regarding DPDP compliance? उनको लगता है कि हमारा काम नहीं है या उनको लगता है कि करना है, but what are the common mistakes do you think?
So my thing is that there are two things everyone should do. One is they are taking it lightly. As I told you that it is one is a compliance because government of India has asked, so you have to comply. Plus, it can also affect your productivity because it can affect and stop your AI usage. I am not saying that everybody should go for a full-fledged. But what you have to do is, even if you are a small company, get a process flow done. You can get it done from an expert, or you can do a self-assessment and say that, for example, I only have 15-20 people, okay, and my business does not involve any capturing of personal data. But at least you do yourself and be ready. So if a complaint is there against you, then you can reply. You should have at least a contact detail on your website saying that if you have any privacy question, mark a mail to us. It should not happen that first complaint to you and the board is, I don't know where to reach. Because what happens is there are websites. So there is a website called Have I Be Pond. If you go to that website and tell your email ID, it will tell you where it has been breached. So I will tell you an example, just 1 minute. I was sitting with a senior journalist. I checked his email on Have I Be Pond. So it was one was a leading pizza company in India, and one US company, Amtrak. Amtrak has Amtrak has a contact detail for privacy at amtrak.com. If an issue, send a mail to them. But if you go to India's leading pizza company, there was no contact detail. So we are not saying that everybody should put up, but at least you should do basic things in place. Because if you say that I don't know ERP, I don't know CRM, I can do it with Excel. So we are not saying that you should start doing this depending on your business stage and size, but at least do a simple exercise. Put up your contact details on the website so that if any issue is there, first they reach you so that you can react. Because majority problem is if a disgruntled customer or a principal, if he is not satisfied, then he goes to DPDP board. Board calls you, then it's a problem. So if you are very small, do it yourself. You should be able to justify. You should be able to defend yourself.
So, Pankaj, the question is, this 250 crore penalty, is it based on the company's turnover, or if, let's say, if I have 1,000 crore turnover, I have to pay 250, or if I'm doing only 1 crore, then also have to pay a fine of 250 crores?
So earlier, initially they were trying to do linking to turnover. So they were trying to link 4% of the turnover. Initially, they want to do it, but due to various discussion in parliament committees, they reduced. So yes, it can be reduced. It may be smaller, but it starts at 50 crore. Or even if you plead, we can reduce. I'm not saying that how they behave, but still the penalties will be big and big. More than penalty, the trust loss you have. And if they tell you that you cannot use AI till the time this matter is sub judice, like 2 years, you cannot work on this. So then you are losing your business. So there is a fine, trust loss, and you are losing your business.
Sir, the second question comes from Sweksha. She's from Allahabad and she works for a NGO. But the question relates to, for industries like direct selling, e-commerce, and digital marketing, what areas are under immediate attention they need to take care of? Let's say 3 things you need to point out for these 3 companies. First 3 things that I have to do it today itself. What should that be?
First, you should do is you should start. Which example which I give everyone, that if you have to start gold business, you should first understand how to handle gold. So first you should start doing is where my data is, and that data comes to me or is somebody else's responsibility. You have to start guardrailing that if this data responsibility is mine, or if I'm getting from somewhere else, who is taking that data? So it is his responsibility. So your agreements have to be very clear. I will give an example. There is a company who does a big business where they help organization to generate leads on YouTube. Now, what they do is based on tracks of YouTube, they help in terms of connecting to customers, but they don't get any data themselves. So, if you are not getting any data themselves, you are just a bridge where subscriber information, you give a link to your customer, and then your customer is capturing subscriber information, customer data. Then it is not in your purview, but you have to just ensure that your agreements are guard railed, and the your customer who is capturing, it is his responsibility for doing a compliance of that.
Okay. Now, Pankaj ji, एक question है. It is little थोड़ा सा mythological question है. Before we come to the Krishan Maharaj ji question, is DPDP Act like a Lakshman Rekha before you have to be inside of that Lakshman Rekha कि बाहर निकलो तो कुछ हो सकता है क्या उसी रेखा के अंदर रहना है? तो somebody was waiting me.
देखिए, आपने
Is
सही
it
सवाल किया। लक्ष्मण रेखा है, ये लक्ष्मण रेखा या लेयर बनाई है उनके लिए, मतलब जो आपको प्रिंसिपल आपको डेटा दे रहा है। अगर आपने अनाउंस किया कि मैं डीडीवीडीपी कंप्लायंट हूँ, तो उसे विश्वास होगा कि मेरा डेटा है प्राइवेसी से हैंडल हो रहा है एंड आई कैन शेयर माय डेटा। अगर आप डीपीडीपी कंप्लायंट नहीं है, अपनी वेबसाइट पे अनाउंस नहीं करते हैं, तो शायद वो डेटा ना दे आपको आगे चल के।
okay?
सो
Great.
ये एक लेयर है, मतलब वो समझ लीजिए एक फाउंडेशन लेड हो रही है फॉर एआई बिजनेस कमिंग इन। तो सही बैलेंस है।
पंकज जी, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कम्स फ्रॉम कृष्ण महाराज जी, जो आई थिंक बड़ा ही वैलिड क्वेश्चन है कि क्या कैन वन बी अरेस्टेड फॉर अ वायलेशन? इज देयर अ जेल सेंटेंस एंड हाउ लॉन्ग?
नहीं, ये वाला अभी इसमें कुछ नहीं है। अगर फॉर एग्जांपल आपको कोर्ट ने फाइन देने का ऑर्डर दिया है और वो फाइन नहीं दे रहे हैं, तो वो फिर जो इंडियन लॉज में रहता है उसमें रहेगा। इसमें मैं आपको थोड़ा हिरार्की बता देता हूँ। डीपीडीपी बोर्ड को आप चैलेंज कर सकते हैं टीडी सैट में, टीडी सैट को हाई कोर्ट में, और हाई कोर्ट से सुप्रीम कोर्ट। सो इसका फ्लो ऐसे रहने वाला है।
ओके, सो कृष्ण महाराज जी, आई होप यू गेट द आंसर. कृष्ण महाजन जी, sorry Maharaj ji, I'm so sorry for the you know so there is no arrest as of now. You can challenge this based on the fines, but ultimately the fine has to be paid. That's the way it is happening right now. ओके, ग्रेट. पंकज जी, आज आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखा डीपीडीपी एक्ट के बारे में, और आई थिंक हमारे कुछ लोगों का मैसेज आया, दे वांट टू कनेक्ट विद यू पर्सनली फॉर हाउ इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चंस हैं. आई थिंक नाउ देयर वर्टिकल स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चंस आल्सो. मैं हेल्थ का डेटा स्टोर करता हूँ, या मैं किसी का ब्लड प्रेशर स्टोर कर लेता हूँ बेसिस उनके मेडिसिन किसी को रेफर कर देते हैं. एंड समटाइम्स इट हैपेंस, आई हैव द पैन आधार प्लस द कैंसल चेक फॉर एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फॉर अ बैंक ट्रांसफर. So these are all questions which are coming in right now, specifically. Now, team, any other question you would like to address with us? Because we still have about 3 minutes. We have 16:45 was our point for closing this webinar. Anybody would like to add on something? A question है for sharing of the PPT. We will share the PPT for everybody's reference. And in case this video, we'll upload it in the YouTube of D2CIA channel. That's the our association which is working for the awareness of the e-commerce industry. And you can download the complete video. We'll share the video with you guys for further references. There'll be another session based on this on the industry specific now. There's a request coming in. Let's address industry specific questions now. Could be manufacturing, could be BFSI, even IT, ITS, or even the healthcare sectors. In fact, we could also discuss how the implementation is happening in the government side. So in case anyone has a questions, we are open the floor, or I can wind up if everyone is okay with the idea. Okay. So you have the chat link there. You can join the community. We will be putting the video and the PPT in the community. You can have the access directly from that information. Also, the D2CIA will be sharing you a participation certificate. So the people who have attended will be sharing a series of certificates with you. So do remember to send us your email ID and WhatsApp number. We'll send it across to you. I think Pankaj ji, thank you so much. I believe we could wind up the session now on the high note. Thank you, Sweetie. Thank you, Josna, for coordination. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rahulji, and thank you, your team. They have done a wonderful work. Look forward to associating with you going ahead and doing on DPDP as well as AI also in
Right, sir.
D2CIA and direct selling. Because I am very gung-ho on D2C and direct selling as an industry as well as D2C because it has immense opportunity for India to add or contribute to GDP and economy.
Right. Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you so much for the kind words and encouraging words. Let's grow together. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, team.